Evening Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest opposition preview show here on Up the Cherries in all departments, ahead of our game on Wednesday night under the lights at Peterborough United. Now, before I welcome on my special guest onto this show, a big thank you to our channel sponsors, and here is a video reel about what they do now. To see what Dental on the Banks offer, please visit www.dentalonthebanks.co.uk for more information. Now, my special guest for this opposition preview isn't just a fan of Peterborough United. He's a co-owner of the club. He's an entrepreneur, investor, and the leader of Valhalla Private Capital. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the show Stewart Thompson. Evening, Stewart. How are you doing?
Great. Morning for me, but good to be here. Thanks for your patience and working the time zones.
No problem at all. And thank you so much for joining us on this show. So firstly, before we talk about the football, do tell us a bit more about being an entrepreneur, investor, and Valhalla.
I appreciate that ability to do a shameless plug. So yeah, I was in politics actually, and that's always a short stint. It's never a career. And my best friend said, hey, we should start a company. And so that was a long time ago. And I had the first internet service provider back in 92, 93 in the province I live in Canada. And it just went from there. It was such an experience that was so bad, actually, I said that nobody should ever go through this again. So went into what we call angel investing, or people know it as kind of Dragon's Den investing. So been doing that since 2003, helping tech companies. And I've invested in over 100 companies now with my group and independently. Valhalla Private Capital is just a Dragon's Den where we get together and fund tech companies. So it's been a great career. I've been very lucky.
Amazing stuff. And when and why did you get involved in football, and why Peterborough in particular?
Wow, that's okay. There's three good questions in there. There is something about asking a colonial. I like to say that, like, a Canadian in football, really? And I was on a train with some of the Peterborough fans, and they hate the way I say Peterborough, by the way, from Sheffield, and it was like, you don't know anything about football, mate. Like, it's just this classic sense that nobody knows football in the colonies. But I played at university. I love the sport. I was pretty good at it when I was a little younger and fitter, and actually I always loved the business of it. So grew up kind of getting snippets of it when I could. But actually, it was I'll give the guys a shout out. It's When Saturday Comes, the magazine. I just love it. It was always about community groups and community football and the different ways clubs were trying to finance. And it actually reminded me very much of tech investing. You know, they were using crowdfunding. They were using private equity tools. They were startups. And honestly, I think the magic of football is the ladder system. And I know you wanted to ask me about the Super League later, and we'll get into that. But being able to go up and go down is very entrepreneurial. Like, owning something that can have value tomorrow and decrease in value by 4x that overnight by losing a game on the last day of the season. That really appealed to me, and so it was something that I love. And my partner, he's from Southampton and grew up on the terraces. He is a Brit that ended up in Canada, and so it was pretty easy for the two of us to actually get going on it. We were going to buy a non-league team. And once all the football brokers found out these two idiots from Canada had money and no brains, everybody and their dog was on our phone trying to get us to buy. All the Cherries fans will know this. Like 2016, go back and make a list of all the teams that were in big trouble. And we were getting a call about all of them: Bury, Bolton, I won't go any further, but it was like that. But we had a couple of clubs that were really good opportunities. And we chose Peterborough for three reasons. I like to say number one is Darren McAnthony and Barry Fry. And being able to go in on a partnership with two really solid football characters. I think Cherries fans would call them characters. I would call them super highly intelligent people. We have a very small scouting group because we have the superpowers of Darren McAnthony and Barry Fry. So that was number one. Number two was a catchment area. We didn't want to go into a busy space. I mean, where you live, there's a few football clubs within 100 kilometers, I think is an understatement, right? And,
we've got Southampton down the road. We don't talk about them.
Well, so you understand, like a busy catchment area, we don't have that problem in East Anglia, right? So that was important. And then the ability to build a youth academy out. Those were kind of our three things we were looking for in a club, and we got them in Peterborough.
Fantastic. And of course, Peterborough have always been known to be an astutely ran football club. Considering this, do you feel that the Championship is the most unbalanced league in the world when others risk breaking financial fair play? I won't mention any names, but you probably know which club. And one such case in particular has got into administration, and that's all in search for the Premier League.
So first off, I'll always be involved in a football business that's sustainable. So that's a principle I have. And I recognize that everybody who has ownership aspirations and kind of more importantly, as a supporter, you either are supporting those aspirations or you want sustainability. Like it's a poison. Yeah, and you have to pick one. You have to either pick hemlock or arsenic. And which way would you like to die, right? So hemlock to me is like sustainability. So if we can only afford to be a League Two club, but our club is well run, well managed, and we never go up, then we're just a great community club on Saturday. That's highly valuable. Mm-hmm. But a lot of fans would totally agree with all right, we got this owner. He owns this amazing video game company, and we're going to shoot for the moon. How many people signed up for that on day one? So, we as supporters, and I'll put myself in that category, want our owners to be the next Ronaldo in some ways. We're not super happy when they sign a defensive midfielder that just makes everything okay. So I'm cautious to give my brethren and sisters stick for reaching for the moon, but I'm a big fan of don't run a company if you can't run it properly.
And of course, Peterborough were promoted last season, so many congratulations on that. What did it mean to the fans, the team, but also from a business sense?
Oh my goodness, it meant everything. It was my first promotion or relegation as an owner, and what a moment. I was there, and one of the things that I felt immediately is how much COVID sucks. Like, our supporters deserve to be there for that moment, and they weren't. I don't cry at a lot of things. I'm I'm that North American male, I don't even cry when my dogs die, right? Like, it's like, but promotion brings you to tears, mate. That is such an incredible experience. And so to be part of that, to watch how hard our guys fought for each other and came back a number of times, and then it just seemed the right way to go up was the be down three goals in the 65th minute and come back and win it, or draw it with a last minute penalty to send us up. Seems just magical football television, doesn't it? And the only thing wrong with that was nobody was there to see it. So that was hugely disappointing. And as an owner, you know what? My first thought, I think I'm allowed to do this, but you have editors, was, oh shit. Like, because now, right? And as Cherry supporters, I can't even imagine the oh shit. And then, oh shit, you guys have gone through, right? And good on you, you stayed, right? So what I love is I had I'll call it fear ownership going into our summer meetings. And when Darren Ferguson and Darren McAnthony laid out the plan, I bought in. I wasn't what I would have done, go young and hungry, find people with nothing to lose, emulate some of the, we would like to say, what I paused on is we would like to say that some of these clubs emulated the Peterborough approach, which is, go young and hungry, find, really good young talent, cultivate it, and let them lead the team. We firmly believe and still believe, like we've had a tough start with the injuries and some performances, but we still believe we're going to be, I'm not going to say a number, but our place won't have the number 20 beside it. How's that? We expect this to be a really good season. We think we belong here, and we're gonna play like that. Just like you guys when you went to the Premier League. Like, I don't know what it was like to be a fan that first year. Like, did you feel like you belonged? And then when you stayed, that must have been an incredible feeling.
It was amazing. We felt like a very small fish in a very big pond, because if you've ever been to Dean Court, Stewart, it's not the biggest of grounds. It's still one of the smallest grounds in the Championship. So we felt like a very small fish in a big pond. But gradually, Eddie Howe made us better and better and better and better. We finished 9th in the second season, and then, unfortunately, and I know we could link this to Peterborough as well, after Operation Restart, the wheels come off a little bit because of a number of factors. And of course, when thinking back to the previous season, Peterborough were in great form, weren't they, heading in to COVID hitting? And it was all decided on points per game basis, which meant that you weren't promoted automatically, which, if that season had continued, it looked like you'd stand a real shout in doing.
Yeah, we were, we spent seconds on it. Like, you don't want to be suing people in this business, right? But expected points per game would have put us in. Playing out the season, we were on a run that was incredible. We had a really, I'm not going to say easy, no match of football is ever easy, but we had a really favorable run in, and we were on a great run of form. So we really believed we were set for automatic. And hey, Cubs is went and did the number on us Friday night to prove that no, we deserve that, right? So you look at it now, but points per game was the only way for us not to be part of the dance, and it was a travesty, because you think about it from a business perspective. That put us back. It took us 20 months to get where we are now. 20 months, not 12. That's 12 months in the span of a football club is nothing, because we are just the stewards of the club in this period of time. And so a lot of supporters will talk about club's history. For me, I'm only going to be here for what? Like, if things go well, 10, 20 years. 8 if it goes poorly, 5 if it even goes worse. That's next year, by the way. I doubt that. But it's hard. The 1 year, giving up 1 year is really hard. And then you think about what you just said about how we started, that split between people who are managing good football clubs, and I would put Bournemouth in there, and those people who are spending ridiculous piles of money, to go to that next level, or they have parachute payments, which is just a sinister thing. I look at that and it just feels like a Canadian kid in jean jacket and T-shirt just sitting in a London black tie affair, hoping to stay here until the security guard kicks me out. I've made that joke before. We feel we're better than that, for sure. But that discrepancy is amazing, isn't it? Like, just that.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and how COVID has either just done in clubs based on they shot for the moon at the wrong time. Now, now there's nothing left in the gun, and they've had 20 months of COVID. And by the way, aren't we all scared if we get a wave through the winter that Uncle Boris says we're all going to go back to not being in the stadiums anymore? That, I think, will cause a national riot. But as a football club owner, I have to plan that might be coming somewhere during the season.
And that must really hit the finances of the club the past 12 months with regards to not having fans in the stadium. I know that there's still sponsorships that come in, but for smaller clubs, it's all about buying the tickets, buying the programs, getting people having a beer on match day, the food. So there was all that revenue lost, wasn't there?
Yeah, and then it's tough because you know what the number is for break even, but I know what the fans are used to paying. So when you try to get up to a number you cause a mini riot with those people. Again, you have supporters that would give up championship to go back to hanging in the terraces with a beer for 10 quid, right? And you've got other supporters that are saying, no, charge me 25 to 30 and let's go for this thing. So balancing what your fans are telling you and they tell you, by the way they purchase the tickets or stay away, or quite frankly, I guess I've been lucky enough to be one of those owners not to have a riot outside my office. That's a good thing. But we've been lucky. Like this year, our fans, we did, we were, I don't feel too aggressive, but we heard about it from some of the older fans. And our fans are telling us go for it. Like, they've been highly supportive of a 25 to 30 pound ticket. That's pretty expensive in this division. You guys, when does you've got one more year left, right? Of parachute payments?
We do after this, yes. I believe it drops a little bit though as well. So it's imperative we get back to the Premier League this season, really.
100% it is. And of course we've seen where you and us all came from at the same time. It's remarkable, the journey, isn't it? Like, you look at the year, the last year you were in League One, we were there with you, and how your journey's gone and ours. It's quite amazing to watch, like the parallel paths of two football clubs.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But it is great to see you back in the Championship, Stewart. Do tell us about the season so far, the start of the season, and what the minimum aim was.
So as I say, I would call it higher mid-table is our aim still. And I look at our start, and I look at, I think for any of your fans that are watching, they're probably not, they're going to think, well, Peterborough's been the easy runover team. That's not been the case. We had West Brom in the last minute of the game at 0, a 0-0 draw, and all of a sudden, we give that up, and there's 2 points gone. And we did the same thing against Cardiff, where we were up 2-0 against Cardiff. And Cardiff looks like a team that's in for a big struggle right now. They started pretty well, came to our ground, are down 2-0 going into the 90th minute. We gave up 2. So that's 4 points. That if those 4 points are on the board, I think Cherries fans are a little more nervous about coming into our barn on Wednesday night. And you know, you look at how we played against Birmingham City, and we looked like a really good championship team. So I think for your supporters, that's the Peterborough club you're going to be scared is sitting there ready to go. You know, we have to find our culture, we have to find our behavior, and we have to be consistent with that behavior. Because if we get the Birmingham City, Peterborough, there's mid-table in there. If we get the sixes and sevens that happen, if you look, we've been giving up goals in bunches, and usually on the road. So we have a tendency to, if we give up one, we've been giving up three because we're pretty generous on the road. I hope that behavior is nipped pretty quickly, and I know the gaffer is working on it really hard. But you know, our home form is fantastic. Our away form, it needs a psychologist.
And you mentioned there the gaffer, Darren Ferguson. Of course, he is the son of Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson, I should say. He's been manager of the club since 2019. Was previously manager between 2011 and 2015, and 2007 and 2009. How key do you feel it is for the club to have a manager that knows this team inside out, the success, the club in the past, and everything that Peterborough's about?
You know, I think there's and obviously Bournemouth's one of those clubs. You know, it's no shot on the current manager. I'm a former Newcastle United fan, so you know, if I could get Parker's autograph, right? You've got great managers, but you think about the culture that Eddie Howe brought to the Cherries for so long, right? And in a way, there's a football that you expect your Bournemouth teams to play because that culture was embedded by a long-term manager, and we have that culture, and we know what Fergie football is all about. It's our kind of football, and you look at the players that he and my partner Dara have cultivated over a decade together. That there's a culture in our shop, and you know, so it's interesting that when we went back, so Darren is my almost third manager. I came in the week after Grant McCann was let go, and went through the Steve Evans bit. And when we brought Darren in, it was unanimous among the three partners because that was our culture, and he understood how to work with us as owners. We understood what he could do. We understood how he liked to play football, and it just felt kind of the Peterborough way. So we keep going back to that well, and I think we're going to continue with that because of that culture, and the success is there. Like, we don't feel the need to change. And again, I think there's only certain clubs, and obviously Bournemouth's one of them. I think Burnley's in there. We can't even imagine, you know, a Burnley with a different manager. And I think and again, Sir Alex, all hail, you know, and Manchester United, it creates culture, and people know what they're getting. It's fit hand in glove, and I believe our current gaffer is that fit for us as well.
And when you actually look at Manchester United and their form, or what they've won since Sir Alex Ferguson, I can completely agree with that. What Eddie Howe did for us. Manchester United have never been the same side since Ferguson left. So he's always been a manager that I've looked out for. I think he's very, very astute at what he does. He's sensible signings as well. So, and plus he's got you out of League One before.
And League Two.
And League Two as well. Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's okay. You think about it. It's you know, he is responsible for so much of our success over you know, the last 20 years. And I'm sure that at this moment, some Peterborough fans listening to this have just hit delete, right? I mean, because everywhere you go, you're going to have your people that don't see that. But you know, we've come up through the ranks, and he's the guy who's brought us here, along with Dara and Barry, and you know, long may it continue.
Fantastic. Do tell us a little bit more, Stuart, about this Peterborough team that we'll be facing.
Yeah, as I've already mentioned, kind of young and hungry, young and fast. Fearless in a lot of ways, and some really good talent. I don't know if you've seen the statistic, but Peterborough's at top of the league for completed pass percentage. So look to control the ball, use the talented players we've got with great vision. Obviously, some concerns in the at the front with injuries we've had, and I don't know yet. I just woke up, so I haven't seen my Twitter feed or my email to tell me whether JCH is playing or not. I'm expecting that's that'll be decided before tomorrow. So some concerns in the front, but it doesn't matter because we were getting scoring from all over the field. So we're pretty excited about what you're going to face.
Yeah.
and highly intimidating team at our own park. So I think it's going to be great. I think obviously you're an intelligent team. It's well put together. There's a discipline to Bournemouth I'm not kind of used to seeing, actually. It feels very organized and determined, I think. So I'm expecting it'll be a bit cagey of a match for a little bit. And I think then after that first 20 minutes, we'll really get a sense of how things are going to unfold.
With regards to just going back to the business side of things in football, what are your views on business people investing for a return? And should they only invest for the love of the game firstly and worry about the returns they would make afterwards?
The concern I've got with not building for returns is that concept of sustainability. Mm-hmm. So if you want your football club to go for it, and I've had this, it's almost political. I like to call them the socialist fans, and I love you guys to pieces. That's not a shot. But you literally believe that my job is to pay the bills at the party and make sure the party goes on as long as possible. But we all know that there's only so much, room on a Visa card. And so, we can either have kind of an irresponsible party and just go for this thing. And then basically when I apologize, do you need me to put on pause for just a second?
That is all right. Carry on.
Okay. Oh my goodness. The FedEx guy shows up just as it goes. So give me 1 second. Great question, because I think one of the issues you've got is, again, that hemlock or arsenic, picking that poison we talked about earlier. If you believe your owner is there to pay for everything, drive forward at all costs. I've called them socialist fans, and it's my right to have you host the party, pay the bill, and when your Visa card runs out, you leave and bring in a new owner that will just run him, his or her Visa card into the ground too. I'm not a fan of that, right? I'm not a fan of that in my own business. It's interesting. Running a Dragon's Den is actually not a massively sustainable business. But we've done some things like we will charge entrepreneurs for things, and people go, you can't charge entrepreneurs to fundraise. And, you guys are horrible people, blah, blah, blah. Well, we've been here for 20 years. And there's other groups that, either the government supports or whatever, they rant about charging entrepreneurs. It's not fair. And then they're gone 24 months later. And so I'm not bringing this back to my own business. It's literally to talk about, hold on. Sorry about this. So, yeah, sustainability to me is super important. And I use my own business as an analogy. Running a Dragon's Den it's not like a supportable business. We make our money as fund managers and stuff. But in order to be sustainable in this Dragon's Den, we charge entrepreneurs. And there's people that go, oh my God, you cannot charge entrepreneurs. You got to give them things for free so they can fundraise as free. And all those individuals are no longer in my industry. Like they either get government support for a couple of years or they run volunteer, but then they're gone. And I've been here for 20 years. And I only use that analogy in football because you can only run till the Visa card runs out, and then you're done. Or you can do it the other way and still be here in 20 years. I'm not going to tell you, Craig, one way is better than the other. But I know that I'm not capable of doing it run the Visa card dry and thanks for the, so long and thanks for all the fish, right? That was supposed to be a good English reference, by the way. So sustainability is it's what I'm comfortable with. It's what my partners are comfortable with. I get a lot from the fans that we're a well-run club. I think you guys are a well-run club. You have been. And nobody lost their minds when you became successful. And you're still in a position where, how about this? There's at least 4 clubs we know of that would talk about their free fall from Premier League down the divisions. One of them is just down the road from you. So, and by the way, I'm nervous for them again. I'm not just sucking up to all the Bournemouth fans because you guys are listening to this, but let's face it, you guys are watching what's going on down the road and wondering, there's only so many Virgil van Dijks that they're going to get you out of trouble. So, I'm a big fan of sustainability because the other way is just a train wreck.
And of course, there was the talk about the European Super League, which we brought up a little bit earlier on as well. Yeah. How detrimental do you think that would have been to the game in England, Stewart? And how do you feel that it would have affected clubs up and down the pyramid?
I think what you just said, Craig, that's actually would have been the cost. And maybe all of you do. Maybe it's just us foreign owners that don't understand that, there's a few things. I like to joke on in England, you guys have church on Saturday at 3 and church Sunday at 11, and you're stopped going to church Sunday at 11. And there's some things about your church at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon I buy into. My first game as just a fan was Chester versus Darlington County, and they were League 2, bottom of the table, and I went to Chester. And I've already told you I read When Saturday Comes. I love that. I love the grassroots football stuff. Now, I know a bunch of people listening to this are going to go, bullshit, right? He's just a championship owner. But I understand what supporting your community club is. I think what you guys have is a blessing. And I actually think the blessing you have was actually created by the pyramid. Because when the pyramid has a way of leveling things in a way that's cruel, and your club is going up and your club is going down, and there's no point skipping between clubs, because you can't just, you can't do that. In North America, there are people that can always pick to support the top teams. And it's starting to get there in England where you call it the top 6. But if I recall correctly, if you guys did go up this year, you might have been taking a place of a North London club for a while there. And there is no guarantee with a ladder that you are going to be able to sustain who you are. And the Super League was about breaking that. Yeah. And so that would have broken a kind of a sacred trust to how the game, fundamentally the game works. The MLS, in my mind, they've asked us to participate as owners in the MLS, and I'm not interested. It's the American franchise model where you buy a piece of real estate, sit on it for 15 years, and sell it at a higher price because the TV rights have gone up. But you're allowed to put a crappy product on the field, and there's no consequences. I'm a Canadian. There's NHL is a massive franchise. There are clubs that have put horrible, turgid product on the ice and force their fans to watch it on TV or go to it. And there's no consequence for being an owner that doesn't put a better product on the field. I am as actively engaged as a fan in the English game because the latter will punish me for my sins. If I mistreat my club, if I choose the wrong players, if I have the wrong manager, the pyramid will punish me. And the Super League was about taking that risk out for 6 owners in England and other owners. And there wasn't a lot of good that can come of it. Now, I would have supported the Super League proposal, the earliest one, which saw that if those 6 clubs broke away, there'd be 300 to 500 million pounds split between grassroots football every single year. Because at the end of the day, those 6 clubs are trying to do it anyway, and they might get away with it. But at least the rest of us in the pyramid, we could be supported in a way that the Premier League should be supporting us. But the Super League, as it came around after COVID, I'm not happy about who drove it. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm not happy about how it got dropped post-COVID, which is, hey, you guys are starving to death. You should give us this. I'm not happy about the lack of discussion around it. It felt like pirates in the middle of the night trying to steal our church. And I feel pretty strongly about it. I am, on a different path. I'm after Article 48 because I don't believe Article 48 is about church. I do believe that it's insane that I can sit here in Canada and watch a Peterborough game anytime I want. But you, the supporters who have been there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, on a Saturday, if your dad's in a old folks home or you can't make it to a game because you have young kids, it's insanity to me that you can't actually watch a Cherries game because of the 3 p.m. blackout. So I'm not saying that I'm the most conservative guy in the church, but there are certain things that are sacred, and the pyramid has to be sacred. It's what gets us grassroots football.
Oh, completely agree. And if you look at what we've done, going from -17 all the way to the Premier League, and yes, we dropped back down to the Championship, but we never expected that back in 2008. But what do you make of the Bournemouth story? So going from that -17 all the way to the Premier League, yes, dropping back into the Championship. But when I first moved down to Bournemouth, I was originally from Reading. I never envisaged that in a million years.
Me neither. I'm very excited. I'm coming to your ground for our January 1 meeting, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it for all the reasons you said. Shucks, it's just a small ground. You think about other clubs that had a similar experience, and I would put Wolverhampton in there when the Oystons owned it. The first year they went up in the Premier League, there was instantly new stands going up. Right? It was insanely high. We're here. How can we spend money? And the Bournemouth story is incredibly. You would think it's so simple, like just sustain yourself, do it properly, don't lose your minds, and yet we're all looking at your story and going, "That's amazing." No, it's not. It's literally good owners, good management, good fans. Know what we have, color within the lines, do it as a team. Like the whole concept of the community and the club and the management and the ownership doing it together and collectively just, mind your P's and Q's and climb the ladder. Great story. And yet, why is that story so unique? It's like everything we've talked about sustainability and all those things. You did it. And then when you got to the Premier League, it wasn't that you were some biplane that actually kind of climbed as far as it could and got through the clouds and saw heaven and then stalled out. No, you guys got to stay there for a long time. You had enough gas in the tank and yet enough management and infrastructure around it to stay. And you're even talking to me now about going back up, because who would have thought in 2008 that you actually would say, yeah, we belong in the Premier League. That's I've been saying that about us. We belong in the Championship right now, and if we get our way, we manage to mind our P's and Q's, manage things properly, get great culture between the ownership and the management and the players. We can be sustainable with some great players. That you guys have some great players that have come through your ranks, and you get to talk about that. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if that was your stitch through the day, but it is about those four things we talked about, and both our clubs have that model of sustainability, mind your P's and Q's, just grow together and just keep going up.
And the great thing about that story as well is the players and who were there during those times that managed to pull us out. So Eddie Howe was the manager. You had Steve Fletcher, who scored that great goal against Grimsby, which effectively kept us. Let's be fair, if we went into non-league with the situation we were in, we might not even exist at all. And Steve Fletcher's part of the club to this very day. He's been through the leagues with the club, right to the Premier League, and he's still there today. And I think that's the great thing, that we've never lost our identity, because there's many clubs that go into the Premier League, will change everything about it, change their identity, and when they come back down, they're a completely different club.
Well, and coming back down after you've given up your identity, then we see that, like I said, that biplane that's stalled. It can be a long, hard fall before the engine starts again. That is also the story of English football. Carving out an identity, I think, is way more important than people give it credit for sure. And I think just being able for you to tell those stories. I was listening the other day, and there was a busload of Peterborough fans on their way to Coventry for a good beating on Friday night, but they're all singing a song about Charlie Lee. Like, Charlie Lee was 2013-14, I think, if I have my history right. And Peterborough fans will now boo me because it was probably earlier than that. But I want to be part of that story. I want to be part of that history. That's how you get new supporters too, is giving them a story that can be their story. I think Bournemouth's done that. I think we've done it. And you're right. There are clubs that lose their identity because they were just so bent on that grab for cash, and the fall can be pretty hard.
Yeah, most definitely. We've seen it happen so many clubs. One thing I ask all my guests, and I know which way you're going to go with this, Stuart, is for a prediction. How do you think it's going to go Wednesday night?
I think we're going to surprise you early, and I think you'll fight back, and I think we'll end up shaking hands on a 2-2 draw.
Do you know what? It's quite funny you say that, because the other two promoted teams, both Blackpool and Hull, are the only teams to take points off us this season. So you could make it a hat trick. So it's certainly a banana
generosity. How's that?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this opposition preview, Stuart. Just before you go, actually, I can see in the background there.
I get a lot of this. Yeah.
The Valhalla 19 shirt.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's an ice hockey shirt.
It is. I could pull it down. By the way, here's the other thing I've got. This is a lot of you don't like baseball, but this is a copy of the Babe Ruth transfer agreement from the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees. There's that's last year's runner-up medal from the EFL.
Excellent.
And, that's they got the Johnson Clark Harris picture up there. But yes, this is an ice hockey jersey. And if I pull it down, everything might come with it. But hold on. Let me see.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's yeah, everything's coming down. There we go. So what we do, see, it's an old-fashioned one too, And so we custom made these and we hand them out to our partners. So whenever we do an investment with a company, or I've gone around the world and spoken on entrepreneurship, and I've been in 30 countries. So we usually take those ice hockey shirts with us. And I have a blue one as well that is for our home team. But yes, that's 2019. Interestingly, Craig, would you be surprised I told you there's no Valhalla jerseys with a 20 on the back? So it'll be probably this year we'll start doing 22s, and we hand them out to our global partners.
Excellent stuff. Do you know what? I want one, but I need to think up an idea first. So
you know what?
put my head together.
I'm more than happy, Craig. I in front of everybody, you give me your number and what you'd like on the back, and I will make that happen. You've got my email address. And just as a thanks for having me on your show, as Peterborough fans will tell you, I've never met a microphone I didn't like. So thanks for the opportunity to talk. And I would love to send you a Valhalla ice hockey jersey if you'd like one.
That is absolutely amazing. And I will take you up on that offer, Stewart.
Absolutely. That's great.
Thank you so much.
People, you don't get if you don't ask. That's your first rule of entrepreneurship.
There we go. Well, I need to think up another idea as well. So, I'll put my mind to it, and then I'll be in contact as well. But yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that offer.
That's great. Thanks for having me, and also thanks for putting up with the dogs and the FedEx man. So
it's been an absolute pleasure, Stewart, and thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers. Good luck, everybody. Not too much luck. Hope you enjoy your visit to London Road, but not too much, is what we always like to say to everybody.
Cheers, Stewart.
Cheers.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview show. Please remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button to be alerted to any videos that we do. Until the next one, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.